Rain hammers the glass walls of a 40-floor Seattle boardroom as Hyun Jae Kang steadies his hand. One signature, that is all it takes for his empire to die quietly. No blood, no bullets, just ink. Lawyers circle the table like vultures. Clan elders stare at the contract as if it is already a gravestone. The paper gleams under white lights, promising salvation. Exile. Silence. Disappearance. Then a tray crashes. Silverware explodes across marble like gunfire. A black waitress in a borrowed uniform freezes beside Hyun Jae's chair. Her name tag reads Amara. She stares at the contract upside down, eyes narrowing, breath hitching. No, she whispers. No one listens. That's not bankruptcy, she says louder, voice shaking, but steady enough to cut through the room. Silence slams down. Hyun Jae turns slowly. Danger sharpens his gaze. Amara's hands tremble, but she does not step back. Clause 88, she says. That routing code isn't insolvency. It's federal seizure. If you sign, you're confessing. The lawyers stiffen. Murmurs ripple. Hyun Jae feels the truth slice through him. This was never a rescue. It was an execution. Security shifts. Guns slide free. Amara meets his eyes, burning with a warning she should never have known. And in that moment, the most feared man in Seattle realizes the invisible woman beside him just saved, or destroyed, his life. Subscribe to Love and Loyalties before the truth changes everything. Bars da. Amara does not scream when the elevator doors seal. She doesn't plead when Hyun Jae Kang steps closer. The mirrored walls multiplying his shadow until it feels like the car is closing in on her. The gun in his hand is not shaking. His voice isn't raised. That scares her more than if it were. Who sent you? He asks. The elevator begins its descent. 40 floors. 39. 38. No one, Amara says, swallowing. I was hired to pour wine. Hyun Jae's gaze slices through her uniform, her trembling fingers, the cheap shoes already scuffed at the toes. He presses the gun lightly against the mirror beside her head. Not touching skin. Just close enough to make the threat breathe. People who interrupt executions don't exist by accident. She exhales slowly. Think. Numbers never panic. Numbers tell the truth. You don't kill witnesses yet, she says. You kill liabilities after you understand them. The corner of his mouth twitches. Interest. Dangerous interest. The elevator opens into a private underground garage. She is guided, not dragged, into a black sedan with tinted windows and silence so thick it presses on her ears. The city blurs past, rain streaked and unfamiliar, as if she's already been erased from it. They take her to a penthouse that feels more like a fortress. Concrete. Glass. Steel. No photographs. No warmth. Two men search her bag and remove her phone. Hyun Jae dismisses them with a flick of his fingers. Then he sits across from her at a long table and finally asks the real question. How did you know? Amara's spine stays straight. Because the routing pattern repeats. Federal seizures hide inside bankruptcy language when they want signatures, not warrants. Your contract was a confession. Silence stretches. You're a waitress. Today. His eyes narrow. Yesterday. She hesitates. The truth costs her every time she says it. But lies will cost her life. I was an accounting student, she says. Top of my class. Full scholarship. I specialized in laundering detection models. I got expelled for plagiarism that never happened. Hyun Jae leans back slightly, listening now. They said my algorithm matched classified material. It didn't, but someone didn't want me asking why certain numbers moved the way they did. Her voice tightens. I lost my scholarship. My health insurance. My father. The words sit between them, raw and unpolished. Hyun Jae doesn't apologize. Men like him don't. Instead, he asks, why keep quiet until now? Because poor women don't get believed. Amara says calmly. And because I didn't know I'd be standing next to my own proof. He studies her like a locked door that might finally have a key. If you're lying, he says, you die. If I'm not, she replies, you need me alive. That earns her a long look. He brings her a tablet, bank statements, shipping ledgers, shell accounts layered like a maze. Explain, he says. She scans for less than a minute before her stomach drops. This isn't mismanagement, she says. It's extraction. Her fingers move faster now, tracing paths, circling numbers that look innocent until they don't. Someone has been bleeding you slowly, she continues. Not enough to trigger alarms, just enough to make you desperate. Hyun Jae feels something cold settle in his chest. Who? She hesitates again, then shakes her head. I need protection. His eyes harden. You already have it. No, Amara says. I need a deal. The word hangs between them like a challenge. You protect me, she says. I audit everything. I find where the money is going and who is holding the knife. If I'm wrong, I walk. If I'm right, you don't touch me. And if I refuse, then you sign the contract tomorrow, she says softly, and disappear forever. The power in the room shifts. Not dramatically, but undeniably. He still controls the guards, the walls, her freedom, but she controls the future he doesn't understand. Hyun Jae stands and circles the table. He stops behind her chair, close enough that she can feel his presence like gravity. You don't look afraid, he murmurs. I am, Amara says. I'm just more afraid of being invisible again. Minutes pass. Then he nods once. Begin, yours blur. Screens glow. Coffee goes cold. Amara works like a woman who has been waiting years to finish a sentence that was interrupted. Hyun Jae watches patterns die under her hands, lies unraveling into clean, merciless truth. Then she freezes. Her fingers stop. Something's wrong, she whispers. Hyun Jae steps closer. What? The transfers? She says slowly. They're too careful. Whoever did this knows your systems. She traces the final path and swallows. The money leads to a shell corporation tied to your inner circle. Hyun Jae's jaw tightens. Name it. Amara looks up at him, and it traces back. She says, voice barely steady, to your family. The room goes very, very still. Amara learns quickly that Hyun Jae Kang's world is built on movement. They do not stay in the penthouse. By dawn, she is driven through rain-soaked streets to a succession of safe houses. Places with no names, no personal items, only steel doors and armed men who speak in nods instead of words. Every location feels temporary, as if permanence itself is a liability. Hyun Jae never explains. He watches. He watches how she reacts to weapons laid casually on tables. How she keeps her back to walls without being told. How she asks for access, not permission. He tests her with silence first. Long stretches where he says nothing, simply waits to see if she will fill the space with nerves. She doesn't. Instead, Amara works. Encrypted ledgers bloom across screens. Numbers cascade like rain, meaningless to the men guarding the doors, but alive to her. She maps transfers, timestamps, shadow accounts. When she asks for a file, Hyun Jae provides it without comment. When she requests clearance to a restricted server, he gives it after a pause that feels like a challenge. They circle each other like predators who recognize intelligence in the other, and don't yet know whether to devour or protect it. You don't flinch, he observes one night, watching her scroll through offshore accounts worth more than entire cities. Neither do you, she replies. Most men this powerful need to remind people of it. And you? He asks. What do you need? Amara doesn't look up. Truth. That answer lingers longer than it should. The power games are subtle. He stands too close sometimes, testing whether she will shrink. She doesn't. She shifts just enough to reclaim space without confrontation. He changes security protocols without telling her to see if she notices. She does, immediately. You rerouted access through a mirror server, she says calmly. If you're testing me, at least make it interesting. A flicker of something. Approval, maybe, passes through his eyes. Nights stretch long. Coffee becomes a shared ritual. Exhaustion softens the sharpest edges between them. At 3 a.m, with rain tapping against reinforced windows, Hyun Jae finally speaks without strategy. My father built this, he says quietly, staring at a city that fears him. He believed power should be disciplined. That fear was only useful if it served order. Amara pauses. And you believe that too? I believe chaos costs lives. He replies. It is the closest thing to a confession she has heard from him. She surprises herself by answering with one of her own. I used to think numbers were safe, she says. That if I stayed brilliant and invisible, nothing bad could touch me. Hyun Jae turns. What changed? I learned that invisibility is what lets people decide you don't matter. Their eyes meet. Something shifts. Dangerous. Unspoken. But chemistry in Hyun Jae's world is not allowed to breathe. It simmers under discipline, glances cut short, hands never quite touching. When she nearly collapses from exhaustion, he orders rest, not gently, but firmly. When he finds her asleep at the desk, he drapes a jacket over her shoulders without waking her. Amara notices anyway. The breakthrough comes on the fourth night. She has rebuilt the syndicate's financial anatomy piece by piece, mapping veins and arteries, until one structure refuses to fit. A shell corporation sits too close to the core. Too trusted, too clean. Hyun Jae, she calls softly. He is beside her instantly. This company, she says, enlarging the screen. It's not just laundering. It's absorbing. Everything bleeds into it eventually. He reads the name. His face goes still. That's impossible, he says. It's overseen by. She finishes the sentence for him. Someone you trust. Her fingers fly again. She pulls archived authorizations, internal memos, sealed approvals. Each one signed with a digital seal he recognizes as intimately as his own pulse. Look at the timing. Amara says. Every major loss coincides with a directive rerouted through this entity. Not enough to raise suspicion, just enough to hollow you out. Hyun Jae grips the back of a chair. Who owns it? Amara hesitates. This is no longer just math. This is blood. It's registered under a holding group tied to your family estate. She says carefully. Specifically, to the man who managed your father's legacy accounts. The room feels smaller. No. Hyun Jae says. The word is flat, controlled. Dangerous. He raised me. Amara turns to him. Then he knows exactly how to kill you without pulling a trigger. Silence roars. Hyun Jae walks away, then back again, like a caged thing. He stares at the screen as if it might change out of respect for him. My uncle taught me loyalty, he says slowly. He taught me this world. And he used that trust. Amara replies gently. As camouflage. The final confirmation loads. A cascade of transfers leads to a private entity buried so deep it was designed never to be found. The name fills the screen. Hyun Jae's breath leaves him in a single, sharp exhale. The betrayal is absolute. The man who shaped him. The man who stood beside his father's coffin. The man who convinced him to sign the contract. Hyun Jae closes his eyes. When he opens them again, something old and merciless has woken. Now, he says quietly, we stop pretending this is business. Amara meets his gaze, steady, unflinching. And now, she replies, you decide what kind of man survives it. The screen glows between them, holding the name of the man who raised him. And the war that is about to begin. The truth does not arrive gently, it comes in fragments first. Archived files Amara hadn't thought to open, buried beneath layers of financial noise. She almost skips them. Almost. But something about the authorization codes feels familiar, like a bruise you don't remember earning but still ache. When touched, she opens the first file. Then another. Then she stops breathing. The funding source tied to her academic expulsion isn't a mystery after all. It isn't some faceless corporation or distant government contract. It is routed cleanly, efficiently, from a syndicate account she now recognizes down to muscle memory. Hyun Jae's syndicate. Approved under executive authority. Approved under his name. Amara's hands go cold. Her father's insurance cancellation. The sudden audit of her scholarship. The anonymous report that destroyed her reputation overnight. All of it linked to the same quiet financial stream. Money meant to silence questions before they became problems. She doesn't cry. Not yet. She walks into the room where Hyun Jae stands reviewing security feeds, his posture rigid, his jaw already tight as if he senses what's coming. "How long?" she asks, voice dangerously calm. "Did you know your money was being used to erase people?" Hyun Jae turns. One look at her face tells him this isn't about his uncle anymore. "Amara," he begins. "Don't," she says softly. "Just answer." He studies her for a long moment. Then he exhales. "I approved discretionary budgets," he says. "Years ago. I didn't read every downstream target." Her throat tightens. So when a scholarship student was accused of plagiarism, she didn't commit. "I didn't know your name," he says immediately. "I didn't know it was you." "But you knew it was someone?" she says. "Someone inconvenient." Silence confirms it. Her father's face flashes through her mind. The hospital room. The quiet panic when the insurance lapsed. The way dignity drains out of a man who realizes the world has already decided he isn't worth saving. Collateral damage. Amara whispers. "That's what we were." Hyun Jae doesn't deny it. "That is the worst part. I built a system to prevent chaos," he says quietly. "I believed discipline protected the innocent. And I believed intelligence protected me," she replies. "We were both wrong." The room feels unbearably small. "I didn't choose this for you," he says. "But you benefited from it," she answers. "And you kept the power." Something fractures between them. Not loudly, but completely. Amara steps back. For the first time since they met, she looks small. Not weak. Just wounded in a way power cannot mend. "I won't be protected by the same hands that erased me," she says. "Even if they're reaching out now." Hyun Jae takes a step toward her. Stops himself. "If you leave," he says carefully, "you become a target." She lifts her chin. "I've been a target my whole life. At least this time. I'll be honest about it." She walks out with nothing but the clothes she arrived in, and the truth she refuses to bury again. Hyun Jae watches the door long after it closes. The ambush comes less than an hour later. Amara senses it before she sees it. The way the street goes quiet too fast, the way a black car idles too long at the curb. She turns, heart slamming, and runs. Shots shatter the night. She ducks into an alley, slipping on wet pavement, breath tearing from her chest. A hand grabs her arm, she screams, and everything goes dark. Hyun Jae finds the blood first, a smear on concrete, a dropped shoe, the unmistakable signature of a hit ordered with precision. Something inside him snaps, not into rage, but into clarity. He mobilizes everything. Safe houses are emptied. Accounts are frozen. Ships are rerouted mid-ocean. The shell corporations Amara exposed are burned down to their digital bones. He doesn't negotiate. He doesn't hesitate. He rescues the victims first. Warehouses are breached. Containers are opened. People crawl into the rain, shaking, alive. For every life freed, Hyun Jae feels the weight of the lives he failed to protect. His uncle runs. Hyun Jae lets him. Because some endings deserve witnesses. Amara wakes in a hospital room under guard. She doesn't know how long she's been unconscious. Only that the world feels quieter. Like it's holding its breath. A television murmurs in the corner. Breaking news. A major criminal syndicate has collapsed overnight. Billions seized. Human trafficking rings exposed. A powerful Korean crime lord has turned himself in with full cooperation. The camera cuts to rain-soaked courthouse steps. Hyun Jae Kang is on his knees, not handcuffed, not dragged, kneeling. Reporters shout, cameras flash, but he doesn't look at them. He looks straight ahead and speaks clearly. "I built power to control chaos," he says. "And I became part of it. I offer everything, names, accounts, roads, in exchange for protection for the innocent and justice for the erased." Someone asks about the woman rumored to have exposed it all. Hyun Jae lowers his head. "I owe her my life," he says. "And I owe her my fall." Amara watches from the hospital bed, tears finally spilling. Not from grief, but from something dangerously close to relief. He chose humanity, not her, not yet. But the truth, weeks later, she stands at the edge of a crowd as Hyun Jae is escorted into custody. Their eyes meet for a single heartbeat. No promises. No apologies, just understanding. As he passes, he speaks softly. Only for her. I will spend the rest of my life paying for what I took. Amara answers just as quietly. Make it worth something. He nods once, the doors close, and the question lingers between them, heavier than chains, gentler than fear. When love survives the truth, can it survive the consequences? The cafe does not look like a battlefield. Morning light spills across scratched wooden tables. Steam curls from ceramic mugs. Outside, rain taps gently instead of violently, as if the city has finally learned how to breathe. Amara sits by the window with a laptop open, her reflection faint in the glass. On the screen, financial networks, flagged accounts, patterns that once destroyed her life. Now tools she uses to dismantle others like it. Her badge rests beside her coffee. Financial Crimes Enforcement. Not a title she ever imagined wearing, but one she earned the hard way. She closes the file and looks up when the bell above the door rings. He hesitates before stepping inside. The man who enters is quieter now. No entourage, no weapons. Just a jacket worn soft at the edges and eyes that carry the weight of names he will never speak again. His hair is shorter, his posture less guarded. She recognizes him anyway. They do not rush toward each other. They don't touch. They simply sit across from one another like two people who survived the same storm and are still learning what calm feels like. I go by Jay now, he says. It's easier. Amara nods. I like it. Silence settles, not awkward, not tense. Honest. I don't expect forgiveness. He adds. I just wanted you to see that I kept my word. She studies him. Not the power he once held, but the discipline it took to let it go. I didn't survive so you could disappear. She says gently. I survived so the truth could stay. His eyes soften. Something fragile and real. They walk outside together. No guards. No fear. Just footsteps moving at the same pace. Love doesn't arrive like thunder anymore. It arrives quietly. Earned. Chosen. As they part, Amara smiles. A small promise, not a guarantee. Sometimes loyalty isn't about staying. Sometimes it's about returning. Changed. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to Love and Loyalties and comment which couple you want next.